too kind. Okay, I'll call the meeting on Monday, April 27th, 2026 to order. I ask all who have not signed in, please do so. Please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices. Please conduct any private conversations in the hallway or outside. Emergency exits can be found to your right and to your left. And this meeting is also live streamed via YouTube with text commenting available. At this time, if you please join the town board in the salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be so kind with a roll call.
Jack Marin,
Here.
Dave Condon.
Here.
Drew Cusimano,
Here.
Jen Tipton,
Present.
Alexis Ogra.
Here.
Okay. Quick, we have 6 employees celebrating birthdays in the month of May. May 13th, Andy Baxter. The 18th, Kevin Flagg. 21st, Dylan Reed. 22nd, Dana Snyder. On the 27th, Kim Reese. And on the 29th, Kathy Rayburn. And David Fulvio is with us again this evening in Frank's absence. Next meeting cycle, Dr. Terranova, Victor Central School Superintendent, will be presenting an overview of the school's district's budget at the May 11th meeting, and potentially our town's grant writer, Emily Columbus, may be here as well for an overview of some grants that she is working on. Approval of meeting minutes. This would be the April 13th town board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
At this time, we'll ask our deputy town clerk to introduce manifest number 8.
The Victor Town Board has reviewed manifest number 8 in the amount of $259,403.06 with the following accounts charged: General Townwide, General Outside Village, Highway Townwide, Victor Fire Protection, Victor Lighting Districts, and S&S Consolidated Sewer.
Thank you. Up on the screen, you'll see payment number 1 is the Civic Plus. Number 2 to Excelis for the retirement healthcare. Payment to Lincoln Financial for the dental program. Payment to MVP for the May healthcare for town employees. Payment to Mirabito Energy, unleaded fuel. Payment to New York State Comptrollers for the March court fees collected. And payment to RG&E for street lights and townwide gas and electric. Total of the above-mentioned expenditures is $179,711.86. Total town expenditures minus the previously mentioned expenditures equals $79,691.20. Board members, question on this abstract?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And at this time, we have our auditor present this evening. We have our Director of Finance, Rich O'Donnell, if need to be as well. Good evening, Tom.
Good evening. How's everybody tonight?
Tom, check to make sure that mic's on.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Alrighty. Good evening, and thank you for inviting me here tonight. And you should have in your board packets the draft financial statements. As you know, these financial statements really reflect a budget process that you started more than a year ago. Okay, and have reviewed the financial statements with the town supervisor, finance director, and certainly if you have any questions, I'll be happy to react to them. So what I did was I just put up a few bullet points relating to the financial statements that we completed, and just a couple real quick items. This financial statement does reflect some of the recommendations that you'll be approving tonight, so just to be aware of that. So that's why they're in draft financial or draft statements, okay? But again, we did complete the audit of 2025, and again, there's a lot of good information in the basic financial statements, and we did issue an unqualified opinion, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. So that really is the opinion you're looking for when it comes to the financial statement. That's what we call the standard opinion, okay? Within the financial statements, there's also a nice summary of what's called a management discussion and analysis. And again, that's part of the basic financial statements. It's about 8 or 9 pages. And the idea is if you read through those 8 or 9 pages, you get an overall idea of what took place during the year. And again, a couple of the items I'll just kind of highlight on the slides. Again, just like many other municipalities, you do face continued challenges each and every year. Obviously, the property tax cap certainly is a challenge for many municipalities. Inflationary challenges, also costs associated with employee benefits. So again, those challenges continue to be out there. The town continues to do a very nice job in managing those costs and managing your long-term financial plan, which are really key aspects in maintaining good financial health. So you've done that over the years. You continue to be in good financial position. A couple of the key areas that continue to be very strong, especially on the revenue side relating to sales tax. Sales tax revenue continues to be strong for the town, really up just about $1 million from the prior year. So again, that's something to be noteworthy of. Mortgage tax, again, it's another area where it's been pretty strong. Again, that's based on the properties, the selling of properties, as well as new home builds. And then interest revenue, again, continues to be very strong. So again, you're doing a nice job there. A couple of the other unique items that happened during the year, the town did receive about a $3.5 million grant for the purchase of a building through the New York State Dormitory Authority, so some grants received there. You also used about $2.2 million in your reserves from the general fund to purchase some land and buildings over at the Lehigh Crossing. So again, some nice financial activity relating to the long-term plannings, and again, leveraging some grants that you received from the state to help finance some of those projects. Again, long-term planning, utilization of reserves, again, very important aspect of that long-term plan. So again, reviewing, evaluating reserves, certainly a key aspect of that. Again, overall, you ended the year in good financial shape. I won't go into details of the funds, with the exception of a couple of the key major funds. So again, the general fund is the major fund of the town. Again, just looking at the fund balances, as you know, the town does a very nice job in monitoring fund balances. You do have a fund balance plan that the board has adopted, which talks about targeted fund balance levels, and after you make the allocations of the reserves, you'll be right within those fund balance targets. Okay, so just to be aware of that. But again, you could see those capital reserves that you're using, again, a little over $12.8 million. You have a couple different reserves within the general fund. But again, you did allocate about $3.5 million into that reserve. And then you utilized about $2.2 million of that reserve. So again, developing those reserves and utilizing those reserves. Okay, so very good. The revenues and expenditures, again, just to point out, just because they're up from last year to this year, again, the key areas relating to the sales tax revenue coming in strong, as well as the $3.5 million grant you received for the purchase of some of the buildings that you were working with. Okay, so again, that $3.5 million dormitory grant, and the expenditures are up for those related purchases. Okay, so they go hand in hand. All right, so those are the key items in the general fund. The part-time fund, again, continues to be strong. This is where the majority of your sales tax gets allocated between the general fund, part-town, and the highway part-town fund. So again, those funds are fully funded through sales tax as well as other user fees. Again, nothing too unusual in the highway part-town fund. Again, pretty consistent from last year to this year, or the highway fund, I'm sorry. The highway part-town fund, again, you can see there's been some activity this year. Just to note, you do see the fund balance went down from last year to this year, about $1.8 million. And that was a planned erosion of fund balance. So again, that's something the town looked at as part of your budget process. You can see the revenues are down as well. It was just a reallocation of the sales tax. So the fund is still fully funded. There are no property taxes levied against this particular fund. And you're able to reallocate and utilize some of those sales tax for other benefits to the town. Again, overall, your expenditures are up about $1.8 million. Just that continued investment in road and equipment. Okay, so again, you're doing a nice job relating to that part-town fund, okay? So those were the major operating funds. In addition to those operating funds you have, we do make the town look more like a corporation. So we have this consolidated statement. We include all of your assets and capital assets and long-term obligations in this statement on the middle half of the page. And you come down to a net position. So this really takes all of those operating funds, combines them into a single column, and you can see at the end of the year you have about $77 million in total assets, okay? You have to remember the majority of those assets are really tied up in your capital assets, so your land, your building, your infrastructure, okay? And again, we have to put a value on those based on historical information, not necessarily what you could sell those for. So something to just keep in mind when you're looking at that. But overall, you know, your overall unrestricted debt position here is a positive $7.1 million, which really is important because there are many local governments, towns, municipalities, school districts, where you see a negative unrestricted net position, which is generally a result of some of those long-term obligations that are out there. So again, you can see the due in 1 year, due in more than 1 year. Those long-term obligations for the town total about $12.2 million. Again, the key components are the bonds, right, that you've issued over in the past, the net pension liability, and OPEB obligations. So again, those are three liabilities that you have to report in this corporate style financial statement, okay, for financial reporting purposes, okay, and they impact your bottom line, that $7.1 million. And again, the impact of the pension system, so the New York State pension system, that pension system is currently about 92% funded. So you have to report your share of that unfunded pension liability within your financial statements. That share is about $1.5 million, okay? So again, you're on a pay-as-you-go basis, so you're still current with your payments, but when the fund does their calculation after they receive all the payments, this is what that unfunded obligation is, okay? The OPEB obligation, that $4.1 million, again, that relates to the health insurance that you've committed to your employees when they retire, okay? Again, that number is very manageable for a town your size. Again, that's that number where in many municipalities, it's 2-3 times their budget, which really is a result of seeing significant deficit financial positions. So what this tells me is the town has done a nice job in managing that obligation over the years. And so again, you continue to see that, but it does impact your bottom line about $3.7 million. Okay, so just to be aware of that. But overall, you are managing that obligation very well. So again, you know, as you know, those pension obligations and health insurance obligations will continue to be challenges going forward. So again, you're doing a nice job there.
Just a moment, sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
What does OPEB stand for?
Other post-employment benefits, so it's primarily health insurance. There's some life insurance in there. So you actually hire an actuary. They come in and they review all of your contracts, and they base this calculation on your contracts. Okay. All right. So that's the financial information. So again, you ended the year in good financial shape, unqualified opinion, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies. We also put together what's called a management letter, okay? And what that is just an evaluation of your internal controls and checks and balances. So as part of the audit process, we have to come in, we have to sit down with your different folks in your different departments, and we really have to document all of the checks and balances that you have over the financial cycle. So what is the process you have over payroll for when an employee gets hired? They're submitting their time into the payroll system. It's being reviewed and approved by the departments and then gets paid out to that employee. Okay, so we're looking at all of those checks and balances over the different financial cycles. And again, one item we talk about over the payroll process, just to look to enhance the checks and balances there, and then one item relating to the procurement side and sole sourcing, and just making sure you're documenting some of that information. Okay, so again, very minor items, very minor procedural recommendations as far as the overall audit of the financial statements go. Okay, and then we also did some work over the town courts. Again, please report that there were no items that we noted during that process as well. Okay? Any questions on any of that?
I do. On
Sure.
the sole source services, is that procurement through things like on state contract or when we piggyback off of other contracts?
Yeah, good question.
Yep.
No, so the sole source is more in line where you might be looking at a vendor
Yep.
who is a dedicated vendor by a manufacturer, and they're the only company that you can get that from, but
Okay.
it's how they document it. There should be a sole source letter from the manufacturers, and that should be maintained on file with the procurement. Okay? So in terms of purchasing off of state contracts or other municipal contracts, right, you're following those processes and procedures. We didn't have any findings in that area. Okay?
Are you familiar at all with, and I bring this back to, I was at the village board meeting last week, and then also I've seen it through like the comptroller's office, putting out a lot of reports lately about like piggybacking off of other state
Yeah.
contracts, off of other counties, and I don't say cracking down, but more or less like looking more into that about not doing that versus bidding something out. And it seems like we are totally fine,
Yeah.
but is there like a rule of thumb going forward? Like, what do you see in other towns? Can I-
Yeah, so I can't speak to what, anything the comptroller has
Okay.
found in a specific municipality.
Yeah.
But in general, what OSC will go out and look at, especially relating to piggybacking, is there are 4 basic requirements when you do piggyback off of a contract, or 3 basic requirements. One was that contract let by a municipal entity, right? So there's 3 or 4 requirements that the state has in place, and those require, how municipalities document that is what OSC has been a little bit critical of.
Okay.
So they're not saying they're doing it wrong, but they're saying they should document it better.
Okay.
In other words, how did they document those piggybacking contracts met the requirements?
Okay.
So again, we didn't have that issue with the town.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tom? Tom, thank you.
Oh,
Great.
sorry, is that the end?
That is?
Oh, I had one more question then. This is just like I don't know. When you can you go back a slide maybe or 2?
Sure.
And I noticed that in the full audit, might just be like an audit question. Why do you put 25 and then 24? Because when I think of things, I think of it like,
Yeah.
you put the year before and then, I'm just genuinely curious.
It's a
why.
formatting audit
Format-
requirement. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is just, this isn't part of your financial statements.
Yeah.
This is just for presentation purposes.
Okay.
But in general, it's usually when you're presenting financial statements or issuing consolidated financial statements, the current year's on the left.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay?
Very good. Thanks for your questions. Tom, thanks for your responses.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Have a good evening.
Next, we have the Victor Farmington Library Director, Mr. Tim Niver.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all? Okay? Okay, I'm Tim Niver. I'm the director of the Victor Farmington Library. I wanted to come up and speak to you guys briefly about, I want to publicly announce our upcoming budget vote for the 2027 budget. It is As you can see up here, this is the infographic we'll be using for general public usage. Our vote will be held the same day as the school budget vote at the Victor Early Childhood Center. Right now, our budget is sitting at $913,400. We're asking for a $79,600 increase to go up to $993,000. And that is just for operational expenses. We're not doing anything extra. This is just to keep the lights on, keep us running as we have been. What this means for the general public is it's about a 2-cent increase per $1,000 of assessed value in your taxes. And that's equivalent to, you can see on the chart there, we're talking about if you have a $300,000 home, you're talking about a $7 a year increase for your library tax. It's going to vary. I'm learning a lot about equalization rates, things like that I don't know a lot about because I'm a library director, not a financial guy. But it's different rates for the different communities we serve. We also serve the same district. We serve the same population as the Victor Central School District. So we've got 3 counties and 5 towns in there, largely Victor, of course, and then Farmington are the two big towns in there. But we have this vote coming up on May 19th. We will be holding a informational session on May 11th at 7 o'clock at the Victor Farmington Library in the large meeting room. And if we have more questions from the public, we'll be happy to answer them there as well. You can also go to our website, victorfarmingtonlibrary.org, and there is a page for vote information on there, and you'll have this infographic up as well. And then there'll be numerous FAQs at the bottom that addresses many more of the questions that you'd expect to hear.
Tim, thank you. I know besides the document up on the big screen, you also provided some other information which really shows the continued growth and popularity of the library.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Yeah, so I also distributed, this is the 2025 annual report to the community. It's a required document by the state for all public libraries to produce. This is on our website now as well, too. But what I really wanted to focus on was some of the interesting statistics from 2025. We had over 96,000 visits at the library last year in 2025. That's up from 89,000 in 2024, so we're seeing continued growth there. We had over 16,700 people attend various programs and events at the library last year. We've got 2 meeting rooms that are open for public use. Those private meeting room reservations and uses went up from 400 uses in 2024 to 626 in 2025. So we're seeing a lot more people relying, using, depending on the library for just day-to-day activities. So those are some of the interesting statistics in there. And we're very fortunate that the community continues to use the library.
Questions for Tim?
Yeah.
I know last year you were at the Village Hall, and was it last year or 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago was our last vote, yeah. So
Okay, and that was what, at the request of the school district?
school district requested that we separate from their vote.
Are they, going forward, is it gonna be at the Victor Early Childhood School? Like, have they given you any indication? I don't wanna confuse people, I know it's not your decision,
Right,
but.
yeah, so my understanding from now on, that we will be lumped together with the school and not separated. And there's a large cost associated with the vote.
Yeah.
So if the school by state law is required to hold our vote for us, collect our funds, and then give us the funds, and that's kind of it as far as the connection with the school goes. We're all Department of Education.
Yep.
So if we were to be separated out, the school would be responsible for holding that vote and paying for the cost of that vote, which was around $8,700.
Yeah.
So it just made financial sense. The school wasn't going to cover that, and we didn't want to cover that either. So school said you can come along with us
Good.
from now. So I would
Okay.
expect, just because of financial reasons alone, unless there's something that causes us to be separated again, we will go forward, I think, with them.
Okay.
But you would have to,
Ask the school, yeah.
school for sure on that one, yeah.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Yeah. So we're with the school this year, May 19th, at the Victor Early Childhood Center, and 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Is it on the same ballot?
Yes.
Okay.
Flip it
great.
over on the bottom. Yep. So, okay,
Other questions?
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for the time. Appreciate it.
Tim?
Well, we'll check with Susie first for public comments and concerns. Members, any members of the public care to address the town board with any comment or concern they may have? Okay, then, moving to reports of town officials. I know Brian is on vacation. He did review his report. He is looking for some town board feedback regarding allowing purchase and registration for access to the dog park at Harlan Fisher Park for non-residents of Victor. So keep that on your top of your head for response to Brian, and give him some feedback at some point here down the road. Next would be the reports from Highway and our transfer station. I want to thank our highway superintendent for putting together some door hangers for the properties that'll be impacted by the construction later in June. And Casey is here as well. You've been busy. Rain barrels. You stumbled upon a nice find for the county. And you have a request as well from the town board. Would the board allow Casey to sell a commercial organics permit for $200 a year to businesses interested in this program? Have you received some inquiries then, I presume?
So Kathy kind of brought it to my attention. She didn't tell me what business it was, but she did say there's a new business who inquired about doing food scrap recycling. So, and she was actually going to bring it up to maybe the taco place over here too. So I thought I think we need to encourage the behavior. So if we could get a couple businesses to try it out, why not try it and see what happens?
If we had interest from, I don't know, I'm thinking like larger restaurants I mean, could that overwhelm
Yes.
services?
Yes, I mean, and I asked her, and she said it was small, so,
Could that be considered on a case-by-case based on,
yeah, I kind of want to see how it goes. I mean, some people may start it and not even like it and not want to do it, because they're going to have to bring it to our transfer station. We're not going to come pick it up or anything.
I think it's a good idea. My only
Yeah.
question, making sure that if we identified that it became burdensome to the program, that we could adjust as needed.
And I really think, like, if it became popular, that I could reach out to the county and get support somehow that way too, and maybe collaborate with them. I know they, maybe, especially with the landfill closing, might have some money that they could, maybe offer if we kind of moved in this direction. They definitely want to encourage this kind of recycling, so.
Any other questions for Casey?
No, I agree with Drew. I mean, steady as it goes,
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it, it either could fail or it could really catch on. I mean, I'm thinking like, I noticed Auto Tomatoes is no longer going to do restaurant, but they're going to do like party service, like, they're not going to have regular restaurant hours.
Right.
And so I could see after a big event, oh, this didn't go so well or whatever. Maybe they had too much food left over or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I have a hard time not seeing Auto Tomatoes disappear at a function. But, you know what I'm saying? Some of the businesses, and I think you just say, see how it goes. If it looks like it's getting really expensive, then we'll have to adjust the fees and.
And I think I want to make the container for a commercial, like separate
Yeah.
it, because I want to make sure contamination wise, like. it's
Well, not only that, it's easier for you to get a
Then I
good
can
gauge on
see,
measurement
yeah.
too, of how much is actually being used by the commercial restaurants and vendors like that.
Correct, yeah.
But I think it's a good idea. Anything that doesn't go into a landfill
Hey,
is,
I feel like we need to encourage it.
yeah, saving us money.
I like it. And I also like that they didn't just sign up for a residential and then pretend that they were
Right.
Yeah,
dumping that. So that I actually do appreciate because I can imagine someone doing that. So I think if you think 200 is fair, see how it starts and go from there.
Thank you.
I think you get to go, and we know you'll manage it without overwhelming the staff as well. So, thank you.
thank you, Casey.
Real quick, we offer our congratulations to the Village of Victor. They're awarded $4.5 million in state funding for downtown revitalization. I'm sure hoping they'll do some wonderful things with that new funds. April 22nd, the town employees, Earth Day roadside cleanup. Casey, I thank you for organizing that, and certainly had a great turnout and great weather for that as well. And then recently I had the good fortune, Rich and I, last Monday evening to participate in a life-saving recognition over at Fire Station 2 on 380 High Street, and recognized were men and women from the Farmington Victor Volunteer Ambulance and Victor Fire Department. It was a patient who suffered cardiac arrest at his home, and great response, and his bride was able to start performing CPR on him, and that was certainly a benefit to the gentleman. And having that individual stand before you and hugging and shaking hands, the people that saved his life, is a very powerful story of itself. So good event last week. And then board members, at your place was a map of Willowbrook Road that Mark is putting up some signage. This is the one-lane bridge, and we're hoping this signage will eliminate some of that confusion where two cars try to go under that bridge. And then in addition, this was something that Keith and his department put together, and then really it shows the future of Issue Mall if the, we know we have consideration for action this evening is a letter of credit from Chick-fil-A, but it also shows where Bass Pro Shop will be at the back of the mall, as well as the future hotel as well. Board members, do you have any reports on any meetings you've attended since our last meeting 2 weeks ago?
I attended the last village board meeting. It was very exciting because it was the day that they got that announcement. And I also just want to give kudos to Kathy Rayburn because I know she worked really hard on that with the village through the LDC. And also Supervisor and I both attended Arbor Day. So if you haven't driven to Victor Municipal Park, it looks great when you drive in and see all the trees. And I've got Leadership Ontario coming up on Friday, and their applications for the next cohort, which I think is like cohort 5, are open now if anyone's interested. I'd be happy to talk to anybody about my experience in the program as well.
Thank you for bringing up Arbor Day, and thankfully it wasn't this past Saturday with the heavy rains.
Oh, yeah. It was a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Lots of volunteers. Great.
Yes. Any other board members?
I think the big note from the Parks and Rec CAC committee was really what you had discussed about the consideration for adding outside residents to the dog park. I know in our meeting, we identified 2 or 3 questions that were going to be referred to Brian, just to help clarify some of that, get an understanding for capacity, daily average use, et cetera, which might allow us better decision-making ability and making sure that we don't overwhelm that facility. And I offered it to the CAC already, my opinion on it. So I think we'll have a good recommendation to come out of that. And then to note, interesting, we do at least 1 or 2 Eagle Scout projects every year. Currently, they have 4 that they're working on, which is great to see. One of them was completed, and then there are 3 that are either in progress or being planned out right now for this year. So that's certainly a nice thing for the Eagle Scouts, but also the projects they're completing are very helpful to our Parks and Rec program, helpful to the VHT, and very good for the community. So it's nice to see those happening. And then I thought it was interesting, Victor Hiking Trails had presented some stuff that they're working on, and a couple of the properties being developed, like off of County Road 42, Valentine, Woods at Valentine, looking at staking out some potential for new trails there and expanding their trail system, as well as a more of a capital proposal that they're hoping to take a closer look at doing what I believe they call like a bike rest stop off of the Auburn Trail, which would have a pavilion, a bathroom, services there for people to stop in the area of the village. It's currently on village-owned land where people could, take a break at a nice area, and the rendering that they showed looked very nice. So, yeah.
Thank you. No other reports. We'll move to the resolutions. Resolution number 1 is amending the 2025 budget to increase capital reserves.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 2 is acceptance of the 2025 audit report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
3 is the acceptance of the 2025 town courts audit.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, authorizing the town supervisor to execute the contract for upgrades to the town court system. And in our last meeting, we had the resolution accepting these JCAP grant funds, and this is the next step.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, amending the resolution number 103 from our last board meeting. So I did, number 1, I'm thankful to the mayor. He submitted a letter of support as well, identifying that the village's plan is to, at some point, put a 4-way stop at the top of Church Street and County Road 9. And that would be a 4-way stop. And then I received a call from the Ontario County Public Works Commissioner, who felt that the resolution that we passed 2 weeks ago, that it was probably going to not achieve what we were looking for. So he recommended, unfortunately, it'll be efforts, we'll have to be patient with this. It'll probably take a few opportunities, but to really get this speed limit similar to what Monroe County's is, that we really, right at this point, his recommendation is petition from the village line up into this new 4-way stop that I think took place today. It should have started today, at least.
it did.
Oh, okay. Go with that.
No accidents either.
I passed through it today.
You drove right through it?
No, I mean,
We didn't hear
I
this.
stopped.
Strike that from the record.
I stopped at the stop sign.
Okay.
I passed through the intersection safely.
Good.
So the second phase, once we get that 4-way in, and then again identifying that in 2028, the roundabout at Gillis and County Road 9. So if we keep doing piece by piece, eventually we should end up with a reasonable speed limit, hopefully comparable to what Monroe County has. So
Jack, just review the procedure on how does a resident request or petition us to look for reduced speed on a town road?
So, first of all, it's a 2-year period.
Yep.
So if we had submitted one within the last 2 years, and that was another point he made, he said you're going to burn 2 years if you send this along, so, and that's why the amendment. So it's a 2-year cycle, as far as when you could re-petition. It goes for review at the county, and then from there it goes to the New York State Department of Transportation. This regional people, they'll communicate with the county, get their feedback, that they may ask the county for accident data, things of that nature.
So if it's not a county road, it's a DOT that determines the speed limits for our town?
Correct.
And so if one resident, so let's say one resident wants a reduced speed limit, right? So do they come to the town clerk? Do they come to the town board? Do they get signatures? That's my question in terms of
Yeah.
starting the process to bring it to the town board.
You could always have folks could pass a petition, and that could be, just like the mayor submitting a letter of support, you could have a petition from the residents as well that could be stapled on. And Casey, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the petition process starts through the clerk's office? Or, I know you're involved a lot through the highway.
It can go through the clerk's office, but they've called our office also before, the highway superintendent, so it can come from the highway superintendent as well.
I told them either place. And they
Yes.
said, I said highway.
That's
I said-
correct. Yeah, both.
So, want to make sure I gave out correct information today.
So,
Thanks.
you good?
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
I think we have a tie. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 6 is setting the public hearing for proposed local law to amend Chapter 165 of the code entitled Signs.
We're gonna get a presentation on this?
Oh, God. I was going to say thank
You
you,
are.
Jen, for sitting on that committee.
Okay.
That's why I sat on it, so we didn't have to.
Yes, you are. Several people from the committee will be here on May 11th, I think, is when we're setting the public hearing for, to do just that.
I was
And
just thinking back to my time on solar, and I was like,
Yes,
if I had to do it, everybody should.
yes.
And also, just for, on the first, whereas, it's missing the L in law, I guess just for typo sake. Other than that, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 7 on the Parks and Recreation. This is an agreement for adult theater, youth and adult theater programs.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 8 is for self-defense instructions.
So moved. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And number 9 is a certificate of liability insurance waiver.
So
for-
moved.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 10 is the amending the resolution 269-2025. This is the 26-27 agreement with Victor Farmington Ambulance Corps.
So moved.
I did catch a quick typo in that one as well. It's possession instead of procession. On the second, I just highlighted it for you there.
Good catch.
I guess my question is just, why are we leasing instead of just selling these to them?
It was the cleanest way through,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Can we do like a lease to own? Is that kind of our idea? Okay.
And it's better to have them running than sitting and not being used, you know.
yes.
Yes.
Any other questions? Need
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Number 11, which was pulled last meeting, is the acceptance of the letter of credit for the Chick-fil-A.
So moved. So excited.
You have a second? We need a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And public comment period again. Any members of the public care to address the town board? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting then.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.